Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Soccer's Overtime, your weekly look inside the San Diego Sockers in the Major Arena Soccer League. Alongside Tony Sanchez, Craig Elston here with you. It is a pleasure to be with you for Season 6, Episode 14 of our little old program called Soccer's Overtime. Chihuahua, here we come. It's the Sockers and Savage, a Western Conference showdown coming up Friday from Corner Sport Arena with a watch party up in Carlsbad. And Tony and I on the English language mic, Mr. Sanchez, el señor Sanchez, ¿cómo estás haciendo?
Muy bien, Craig. Parece que vaya a ver. El cielo se está nublando. Ay, mamá, me estoy mojando. I'm really excited for Chihuahua Sockers in the town to hopefully get some revenge play because they've gotten the best out of the Sockers the last couple times. I think it's San Diego's turn to turn the tables around.
Hey, I see you got a Brujos kit up there.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I wore it yesterday. It was nice and comfy. I don't know if it's stretchy enough for an announcement, a rescheduling of an event that's happening later on. We'll talk about it, see if I'm allowed to, if the commission allows it.
Oh, I think we've got some things to talk about on the show tonight. Sockers travel to Texas and take all 6 points from the Lone Star State. We've got not one but 2 match recaps for you, one a little more relevant than the other. And then it's the week of the Mexico trip. So what else could we do? We got to have the captain on the show. He was there last year. He did it again. El Señor Mustache is back. Kraig Chiles will join us live at 5:30. Something feels right about having the cap on today. A trip through the West Coast did not slow down the Flash. The road, however, very unkind to Kansas City. We'll talk about it all in MASL news. And it's the showdown everyone is waiting for on Friday. We'll preview the Sockers' Savage, our watch party, English language broadcast, and much more on the show of record in the Major Arena Soccer League, Soccer's Overtime. Hi to everybody joining us live on Twitch. We appreciate you. We thank you for making us part of your Tuesday evening, of your live entertainment. And we are always thankful for your patronage. If you are there, if you're here for the first time, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Get notified for all future times that we go live. And just make a note that we are Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, until and unless for the San Diego Sockers. Until we get to the end or unless something happens in between, we are here each and every Tuesday. We're also on YouTube on the San Diego Sockers channel. If you're there, click subscribe, click like on the channel. If you are watching it right now, to those listening on podcast, we say, how are you? Hope the eardrums are working well. Hope everything is coming through loud and clear. Greatly appreciated for everyone to be here tonight. All right, Tony. Sockers, Texas, 2 games without Boris Pardo, 1 game without Charlie Gonzalez, another game without Gabriel Costa. Plenty of things to chew upon, plenty of possible wiggles, and we got 22 minutes till we want to welcome the cap on. So let's get started with the San Diego Sockers and the Texas Outlaws from Mesquite Arena. Boy, the first thing I would say before anything else, what an improvement with the game broadcast by Texas this year to last year, my friend. Just really sharp all the way from Joe Little and friend on the mic to the camera angles, the brightness of everything. I just thought this was a big, big improvement for the league.
Absolutely. And you love to see it. The more people that tune into these games, the more they can really capture somebody who wants to enjoy this game. It's not grainy. It's not, you're not really messing around with the antenna, if that's even a thing anymore online with Twitch. But kudos to everybody down in Texas with the formerly known Mesquite Outlaws. Now, Puro Outlaws.
Now, also the field much flatter, and I heard this from multiple people there that they fixed the field. We called it the lumpy bumpy field last year, a much cleaner roll. Unfortunately for Xavier Cedar Williams, the roll's clean for Luis Morales as well. But this was really a match of answers for San Diego, Tony. It wasn't a match of statements as much as it was answers. Every time Texas scored until the fourth quarter, the Sockers didn't just score; they scored within a minute of game action. And here's the very first example of that. with the double header goal on the Salazar assist, Walla header for Tavoy Morgan.
I think that's a Walla scorer, right? He gets the Walla scorer auto passe off himself. Of great reaction play there with the header. Fantastic by Morgan.
Xavier Snare Williams, of course, in net for the Sockers and challenged throughout the match against Texas. He was in the shooting gallery many times, coming up with some great saves, some great shot stops along the way. Very calm and composed in his keeper's area as well. Here's just a beauty. Chiles laying it off to Cerda, who all of a sudden has found the offensive touch the last 3 matches, Tony.
No, absolutely. And that's something that I'm really excited to hear from El Capi de Capitanes' perspective is what's changing. What's that mentality going into it for himself now being on the road with the team as well? Is he getting that consistency that he needs in order to be more prolific on attack?
Perfectly placed shot by the talented Sebastian Mendez for 2-2. There's just no question that the top 3 playmakers for the Outlaws are all legit. Morales is a natural goal scorer. Mendez is sneaky and has got a very accurate shot. Ortiz, we know, for the long shots, for the toughness on his team. But then right back to it, set piece magic. It's something to have that left footer out there on the set pieces.
I'm really enjoying the Kraig Chiles and Drew Ruggles connection on those set pieces, as you're mentioning. And it seems like every game you get at least one of these looks, and more than likely they go in for Ruggles.
Yeah, Drew is just such a savvy add to this club. He doesn't force his spot in the team, but when he gets his spot, he takes advantage of it. Nice play by Jorge De Leon there, but the Sockers came to block shots in this match. They had Pee Wee with 5 blocks, Cardenas Pino 4 blocks each. A lot of blocked shots for San Diego defense showing up early and often in this match.
I have to give props to my man X, and he's really been absolutely stepping up. And especially in these road matches where, you know, it's difficult, as we see Kraig Chiles once again getting himself a point there. X has been a literal X factor here, and I think he's getting the recognition he deserves around the league.
Lovely little back heel by Pee Wee, who again stepping up, playing better and better in each of the last couple of games. Chiles just doing Chiles things there to put the Sockers up by a pair. Texas is going to try and answer back here, but again, ball falling kindly for San Diego multiple times through, and the Sockers doing a great job of seeing X-Man on the back, seeing shots, getting an opportunity, taking advantage. Sockers get a power play late, and I got the call from Kraig Chiles after the match, Tony, to say, hey, take that goal away from me. I didn't touch it. I didn't touch this ball. What I did was I scared the goalkeeper and froze him. So Costa swings it. Fake kick of the ball by Kraig Chiles, swings the leg. As the ball goes through, Pollo freezes, thinks it's going to come off of Kraig. He seems to tweak himself in doing so, but that's a phantom assist for the Sockers captain.
No, it's coming from everywhere. He's really getting it done in every single way. Even without the ball, he's contributing into the goal scoring sheets.
You know, right about to this point in the game action, I thought this was one of the most complete matches of the year for the Sockers. Now, they did go take a penalty, and that was lovely from the ex-Socker Andy Reyes to get it right to the head of Vinny Dantas for 5-3 at that point. But again, prior to the penalty, I was like, wow, this team is just, they're doing it all. They've got it locked in. This is such a clinical match. But something happened around this point, halfway through the third quarter, where it just felt like the ball never came back to the Sockers' toe until there was like 25 seconds left. That just the rest of the quarter, and obviously it's not literally true. Here's the final goal. That's the game winner. That's the, when we talk about answers, that was the last answer for San Diego. 5-3 became 6-3. And I guess we got to say it, man. So good to have Leonardo de Oliveira back on the floor.
And take it to the Sockers. And, you know, this team, while depleted, also really answered the call of the bell here. Good job on both teams. Entertaining action for the MASL in general.
Sockers up 3 and starting to bunker in to defend. And somehow, once that movement and that momentum started, and boy, how about a great reaction there, it just didn't stop. And the rest of this highlight reel you're going to see is the ball on the team in white's toe. The Sockers defending, blocking shots, and having Xavier Snare-Williams block shots. Not a penalty, definitely a flop on that particular play. Reviewed, checked out, and determined to be as such. And the Sockers come this close to getting 7-3 on their side. But, when you have a good team and you just give them momentum, and there you see it. That was Reyes. And, hey, look, we love Andy very much. You take one more look here, trying to wall pass to himself. But Xavier stops short of him, completely stops short of him. And Andy did a simulated tumble right there. Now, here's a screenshot by Mendez. Pino trying to block the shot, actually just screens Xavier off the play for 6-4. And again, this is where momentum starts to change in this match, Tony.
No, and that's where the Sockers really need to make sure that they are also at their best. You can play 3 quarters, but this game is won in the 4th quarter. And at the end of that time, that really decides who the true top of the top championship quality teams are. And I think the Sockers are really cleaning things up, even with this limited squad.
6-5, wall pass finds its way inside. Morales takes care of business here. And now, look, that's, really well done. He's a right footer. He's bringing it down with the left, with his thigh, and then drops it right to the toe. Excellent work by Luis Morales. But now this is the point where you have to start thinking as a Sockers fan, can we get some possession? Can we get the ball on our foot once again? And really, the answer is no. It's just nonstop pressure, nonstop defending, chances, missed chances for Texas till you get to here, and a peewee steal and a foul. And right then, 26 seconds left. We're going to get a free kick. Now I feel great about what's about to happen here. Ball goes into X's hands. Just a real big mistake by Texas just to kind of boot it blind to the crease. He throws it away, and there you go. The game is over. 6-5. Sockers hold off Texas, get all 3 points. One last shot here to ramp up the match. But the Sockers essentially, with that win, Tony, end the discussion of the Western Division. You really look at it, and of course, the rest of the weekend's results fall with Texas losing emphatically to Chihuahua at home, 6-1. And now you look in San Diego sitting even at 10-1 before this, the weekend was over, but now 11-1, 32 points. Texas 9-5-1, 9-6, basically 27 points, but 3 more matches played than San Diego. And even going down, Chihuahua 18 points, and the Sockers with only 1 more match played, a 14-point lead in the standings. It's going to be nigh upon impossible for a club to catch up to San Diego. The Sockers have 1 loss. They could lose 3 more games and not even be in any danger of losing the top of the Western table.
Yeah, and that's the definite ideal position that the Sockers want to find themselves, as clear of the division as early as you can, and you can really start nursing yourself to full health and full strength for these games that are going to be really mattering at the end. Obviously, you have tough games. You want to win every single matchup that you have, especially coming up one very important one at Corner Sport Arena against Chihuahua. But at the end of the day, that's a calmness that has to come over the squad overall of, okay, we took care of business where we had to take care of business. Now we can go ahead and either keep going in the same direction or start really adjusting and trying things out in a way where there's minimal consequence as far as those standings go.
I would hope that the Sockers have learned something after this weekend. And we've got a shorter highlight reel from Dallas to play, both because the Sidekicks had just endless technical issues in the 3rd quarter and in the second half, and just couldn't basically keep their broadcast on the air. And then also apparently didn't have an archived version to upload. Our John Green just sent us something a couple of minutes before the game in terms of what Dallas had sent. That reel is really long, though. It's like 11 or 12 minutes long for a game that was a 7-goal game. Eddie Trujillo. Here, let me send you this link, Tony.
That one right there.
Yep. That's the one. Let's get it started.
Perfect.
These are just some of the highlights. Beautiful backheel pass by Leo. Talk about a hockey assist. Leo taking it from the wall to Serta, who's again surging offensively over to Kraig Chiles, who growing a mustache equals. Wow, what a just prescient play. This guy's got eyes in the back of his head, Leonardo de Oliveira.
That's really just, you talk about ring awareness sometimes in a squared circle. This is just overall field awareness and just having that sixth sense of where somebody's supposed to be and getting that ball where it needs to be to have a goal. And then I love this goal.
Yeah, second header goal for Kraig Chiles. First one got missed when they took a break, or their, I don't know, their broadcast just kept breaking down over the course of the evening. But Chiles just following his own head. This is a basketball player following his missed shot and coming in for the dunk. Beautiful stuff. Soccer's up 5-3. Of course, they're going to run away and hide in this game. But here's such a pretty play. Nutmeg. Tavoy just destroying worlds, taking Quintana's soul and having it escape in between his legs with that beautiful nutmeg play for 6-3. That really did feel like kind of the stanky exclamation point on the back of this first half for the San Diego Sockers.
Yeah, on the playground as a kid, you see that nutmeg, ese túnel, and the chorus of "ooh" happens from then on, and you just have to finish the play, and he did exactly that. One of my favorite goals this season.
Tavoy, really strong. 2 goals, 2 assists in this game. You saw the goals, the assists. That's one of the two, but they were both the exact same play. Give him the ball with back to basket, so to speak. Have a run for the 1-2 of the guy who gave him the ball. This time it was Charlie. Previously it was Brandon, but the play is simple, and yet Keystone copping it defensively as Dallas there running into one another to free up Charlie for the goal. Here's the Sockers' third shorthanded goal of the year, tied with Utica for the league lead. Boy, it's nice to see Christian shoot and hit the net, Tony. I hope that's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, we've been pointing out every time he does score and just have that contribution towards the end of the games here at times, but it doesn't matter when that boost of confidence comes. It matters for Gutierrez at the end of the season and as he's going through it, where he's going to be able to contribute a little bit more. And I really hope this is just the beginning of what we're to see in that uniform for Gutierrez.
And here was just one other look. You can see the Chiles header goal there, his first one. Very nice. The first header, the second header. Dude's got a head on his shoulders. There's no question about it. Sockers win that one 10-3. Very routine match. We love to see it. We've talked about it before. We've chided them for coming into Dallas with minimal effort, coming into Dallas with that low intensity feeling of, we're going to win. Let's figure it out. And always Dallas at least will give them a little bit of a game. And this time it was one quarter. For a quarter, they were kind of hanging in there with San Diego. But once the floodgates open, forget it. Flooding occurs. It's time for evacuation. And the Sidekicks were evacuated from any dream of winning this one. They've lost 11 in a row. Sockers have beaten them every game since 2013. Haven't lost in 11 years to the Dallas Sidekicks. It's okay.
It's
okay.
Yeah, definitely a good record. Clean cut. I like this result after another arduous road stint that is almost done. But let's keep that for a little bit later because I'm estoy bien emocionado.
He's fired up for Sockers and Savage coming up on Friday night. Again, if there's something that the Sockers can take away from this weekend, I would like to hope that it is a confidence that Xavier Snare-Williams can handle the net for the San Diego Sockers. In no way is that a knock on our veteran leader, Boris Pardo. It's his net. But the Sockers have played the last 2 seasons as if they didn't have a backup keeper. They've played where Boris starts every game. Boris starts back-to-backs, might rest for a quarter here or there. There is no reason a 39-year-old has to be put through the ringer like that when you've got a young man behind you who is strong, who is gaining in confidence, who is an excellent shot stopper. He's doing the job stopping the shots for San Diego. He was put against a very talented offensive team in Texas on their home floor, came away with the victory. Then in a low intensity game like Dallas, still no lapses, comes away with just 3 goals allowed. Rock solid. And I hope this informs Phil Salvaggio's decision making the remainder of the year, because there's just no reason not to alternate keepers when you have 2 games in a weekend. There's no reason not to take advantage of the players you have on your roster, so that in a situation like we had the previous weekend, Tony, you don't see a game where Boris starts, plays 3 quarters, sits out, comes back the next day after flying over 2 state lines, so tired and angry, he winds up getting kicked out of the game. He could have been fresh for that Tacoma game sent the day before and just given the net to Xavier against St. Louis. That's the kind of thing that I would hope would become routine now for San Diego going forward.
And again, it's very much part of that preparation that Xavier has undergone before this season. Mentioned a couple times, seeing him with Sockers too, and seeing how difficult that was in a not so positive season for the second team here for in the MASL 2 for the Sockers. But I think the improvements and adjustments have been incredibly exponential with the way that he's carrying himself on that field. He's not just a replacement goalkeeper. He's the goalkeeper. You're the leader and general of the defense. Yeah, you have some great players with Pino and Cardenas, but at the end of the day, and this was always something that was impressed on me, is that you as the goalkeeper are the only person that sees the entire field. So you have a job to be able to direct the runs and to really be able to pick up on the patterns, where Texas Outlaws, for example, is a fantastic offensive team. They have 3 lethal attackers that can hurt you in many ways, and in many ways that they did. But X really has been stepping up, even at the point where Islas got some minutes out there as well, the third goalkeeper on the roster for the Sockers. But I think, yeah, look, if Boris Pardo would like and is able to also kind of rest his body, get ready for those times, those games that we really essentially need him. If there's points in the day and in the season where X can get in there, it's not just, oh, is he going to go ahead and be able to do this? Or are we going to have Boris still warming up just in case it gets out of hand? I'm confident with X's ability to really carry this team through not just 1-2 quarters, just an entire game, and really be able to have the Sockers play San Diego soccer style and philosophy throughout. So congratulations again to X. He's been working incredibly hard, and the kid deserves it, to be honest.
Hey, trust is earned. And, just seeing a couple of things in the chat, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting in any way that there is a battle in net for the starting job. It's Boris's job. He is the leader of this team. These 2 guys are just at different places in their career. Boris is toward the end of his career. I'm not saying he's at the end of his career. That's up to Boris to decide how much more his body wants to take. Obviously, he is still one of the best keepers in the MASL. Obviously, he is still somebody who knows more about the sport than Xavier could possibly know at this point. It's that old classic, he's forgotten more than you know. That's where you are when you've had the level of intense training and experience that Boris Pardo has had. What I'm saying is very simple. This is a watershed moment for Xavier in terms of installing confidence in the coaching staff, directly installing confidence that they don't have to panic if Boris were to get hurt and say, oh, well, what veteran goalkeeper can we go scramble and find? Who could we trade for? What do we have to do? No, Xavier's got it, man. It's his 3rd year. You learn over time. He's a sponge. He's been taking things in. And now the Sockers have a great situation. They have 2 good goalkeepers. That's what you want.
Yeah, it's a perfect situation if you're Phil Salvaggio. Excuse me.
It's quite all right, man. Got you all choked up. We start talking goalkeepers.
Yeah, man, it's that position. It really is true. Like, seeing how young he is too. Like, look at the age difference. I saw the comment here of like, yeah, well, he's more athletic. He's more this than Boris. It's a different type of athleticism. It's a different archetype of goalkeeper altogether. where you have the resorte, that spring in the step of X, where that comes with the youth, that comes with his style, that comes with practicing the beach soccer goalkeeping position, because you need that extra strength to push off of the sand and battle against 5 times X gravity, it seems. But those are the things that really contribute to the goalkeeping style that makes these two individuals different. But overall, again, it's that soccer's philosophy that just is impregnated in every player. It brings the best out of the players, and it's bringing the best out of X's play style so far.
Yeah. Also, guys, Friday hasn't happened yet. All the folks getting froggy in the chat in terms of changing, and maybe he's playing himself onto a different team or all of these other things. No, Xavier Snare Williams is sticking around. The pride of Oceanside is sticking around for the club that's moving to Oceanside next year. I wouldn't worry about that one bit. He is a local kid. He's somebody who's going to be sticking around with the Sockers for a long time. I just think it's funny. We start talking about that, and it's just like a quarterback. You start talking about the goal. Everyone's like, oh, well, him or him, this or that. Controversy. Do we have a battle here? Like, no, this is great news, because I'm here to tell you, before we welcome Kraig on, that there were times in the past where I know that from an organizational standpoint, it was like, hey, Boris is our keeper, and if anything happened, we'll figure it out. I don't know what we're gonna do. Let's hope it doesn't happen. And then it didn't happen. He started every game but one, every game but two the last couple of years. Now you've actually got two guys you can rely upon, you can be excited about. And to Friday, a year ago, Tony, if it was X in net, Soccer's going to Chihuahua, I think a lot of people just be like, okay, well, all right. But I don't think anybody feels that way anymore.
No. And again, we'll see what this next matchup comes the way of X, and that's going to be a real test as well. So hoping for the best. He's been stepping up so far. Hopefully that continues.
Is the captain standing by, sir?
Así es. Ya tenemos el capi de capitanes.
Let's welcome in our special guest. It is Trip to Mexico week. It's time to bring the captain back on the show. Last time he was on, Sockers were heading to Chihuahua. The wagons are circled again. The mustache is in full effect. Kraig Chiles is here on Sockers Overtime. How are you, Casey?
Good. What's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's our pleasure. We're so thankful for you. Everybody okay with the monsoonal moisture, the atmospheric river? Your house wasn't destroyed by a tornado today, was it?
Nope. I think everybody's doing well. Most of the guys and Peters are up on the top of a hill. So the water's running down.
Outstanding. Well, the stash is back. Kraig is back on Sockers Overtime. Let's talk about the ball club. This was a big road trip for the team, Kraig, going through Texas, going through Dallas, coming off of the Tacoma game and all of the heightened emotions around it, all the discussion. How do you feel the club did in terms of responding emotionally?
Honestly, it could have gone a lot different. I think everybody knows the intensity in which we played Mesquite last year, and there was the bust up at the end of the game and a multi-game suspension for some players. And so, we knew that game against Seattle was a shit show, quite frankly, and we needed to have a really professional performance in Mesquite and get the job done. And so I think it shows. I know it got tight there at the end, but I think for the most part, we managed that game pretty well against a really good Mesquite team on a difficult field. They've got a really good home field advantage there, and I was proud of the Sockers' performance on that trip, and I think we kept our head and we stuck to the game plan and got the win.
Absolutely. And as you're mentioning, Texas, obviously, this was a statement win, and you heard us a little bit here talking about X as well. Is no Boris, no Chadley, and still being able to manage to hold off a powerful Texas side. What's that kind of headspace, and how was that possible at this point where people were honestly doubting that this was even a possibility of a great Sockers victory?
Yeah, honestly, I think over the past few years, we've proven that a couple players can kind of float in and out of the lineup in our game plan and our structure and style of play is going to kind of maintain status quo. And so, yeah, bummed to not have Charlie, obviously having an unbelievable year, and Boris as well, but nothing changed, right? It was we just got to stick to the game plan. Everybody should know their role or their new role, and you kind of put your head down and you work hard.
We were just talking before you came on, Kraig, about the performance of X over the weekend and saying that if nothing else, I would imagine the coaching staff leadership walks away from a weekend like this saying, hey, well, we know now that there's no need to panic in terms of if something happens, if there's an injury, just whatever, some untoward event, that you've got two goalkeepers that you can ride with on the road and win big games.
Yeah, honestly, we're proud of X and his performance, and I think we all know from watching him train week in and week out that he could be in a starting position on an MASL team probably, across this league, but he's getting mentored by Boris in a really high-end way where, it takes a few years to really gain that understanding, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that labor this year, and so as X is doing well, I know Boris is supporting him, and Boris is a big part of Xavier's consistency and performances as of late, and as a team, we know whether it's Boris or Xavier in the net, we feel confident in either of them, and we're prepared to go to battle with both of them.
I love that. And as we're seeing the development of X and some of the players, we're also seeing the development of bonds, the development of, I say, in the corporate world, team building. Some of the outings that we've been seeing on social media with some laser tag. What's this road trip been like for the team, and how has that brought the team and squad together?
This was the first road trip that wasn't, gung ho from the airplane to the field to the airplane to home, and so candidly, we've got a lot of new pieces in the team, and we need to make sure that we bring it all together by the end of the season. And, as a player, you can practice, multiple times a week, and you can gain skills and you can get better in certain situations. But when it's all said and done, if you're not prepared to fight for the players around you, then none of it matters. And not a knock on Kansas City, but I think Kansas City needs a little less soccer practice and a little more team bonding and team outages, because I think that part of the game is overlooked, and so getting out there and playing laser tag together and messing with each other in the go-karts. Granted, I think I won by 3.5 seconds. If you looked at the score, I smashed everybody, but we're just all having fun, enjoying ourselves. And, it was actually a great experience. And truthfully, I think we all came back from that road trip a little closer. We got the 2 wins and the job done, and we got to enjoy ourselves as well. And I don't think it gets better than that.
You guys have really grabbed a strong hold on the top of the MASL Western Division. The result that's upcoming Friday isn't really going to, one way or another, alter that. You guys are really on pace to be first in the West, if nothing else. But I imagine it has to be, given that Chihuahua came into your house, held you guys to almost a shutout, beat you pretty handily on your home floor to end the team's home winning streak of 25 matches. I imagine that going down to Corner Sport Arena, a place that you have had success in the regular season in years past, is something that weighs on all of your guys' minds.
Yeah, that was a tough loss, and I think we can all look at the intangibles or excuses, but the point is we're going to go down into Mexico and we're going to fight for a win. We know it's not going to be easy. Giannoni has set his team up very defensive minded, I think, in the last X amount of games since he's got in. And so I'm anticipating this being a defensive duel and quite frankly, a dogfight. And so, we're going to travel in there. We're going to get ourselves ready for war. And it's 2 teams that have nothing but respect for each other, 2 really quality groups of soccer players that are intertwined off season and for years. And so there's nothing but respect between us and Chihuahua, and we know they're going to give it everything they got, and we intend on doing the same.
Yeah, really looking forward to that barn burner match. And as you mentioned, it's a team that's being built defensively. And this Chihuahua team, is it a different approach preparing for them, just because this chess match has now turned differently in terms of having to go in and, it's a different Chihuahua from what we saw at the beginning of the season. How is that preparation process happening?
Yeah, honestly, as you prepare for the game, you can look at their players. They have quality across the board, and I don't think there's any exact preparation you can do to navigate through who might play. It might be Tovar, it might be Puentes. But I think what we can do is get ourselves prepared for the size of the field. Make sure we're sharp on long throws. Make sure we're sharp on picking up balls in the offensive end and second balls and stuff like that. And so we're going to have a structure and a game plan that we need to take care of in Chihuahua. We know it's a little bit of a unique field and a unique atmosphere, but we kind of relish that environment a little bit. And so, they're going to be really good players in Chihuahua that haven't quite established themselves in the MASL, and we're kind of seeing that, and they're a little bit undercover. But we know Cañez and Puentes and that whole crew is quality up and down, and so we're prepared to mark all those players and try to limit them on the field. But I think when it's all said and done, we just have to make sure we're sharp on our free kicks, power plays, long throws, our low pressure defense. And candidly, when we're prepared to fight and battle and put our body on the line and get bodies behind the ball, we're a really difficult team to beat. And so what we're not going to do is going down into Mexico and roll over. We're going to give them hell, and we're going to go out there and compete for the win. And we know it's not going to be easy, but at the same time, I don't think they're looking at our roster thinking it's going to be a easy game for them as well.
Yeah, right now the league, I'm sure the two teams south of the border are just thinking together, hey, this is our season. This is our season. Chihuahua is saying the only team we've lost to is Monterrey. Monterrey is saying the only team we haven't lost to anybody. We're undefeated. We're 15-0. And now we've got a chance for two Mexican teams to meet, West versus East, south of the border, an all Mexico Ron Newman Cup final. I know these dreams are deep in the hearts of those players whom you have played with and played against over the years. I think about how many times you've lined up against Diego Reynoso and Edgar Torres Gonzalez and these cats over the years. But Sockers are not willing to hand that title over so easily, is what I'm hearing.
No, yeah, they're going to have to come through us, I think. And candidly, I was joking around a couple weeks ago that, it'd be nice to win a championship down in Mexico and celebrate down in Mexico, lift that trophy and enjoy a night out down south. And so I know I'm looking past a whole bunch of rounds of league games and playoff games, but the point is, it looks like you're going to have to win down in Monterrey for sure, and likely we're going to have to win in Chihuahua as well. And so, when it's all said and done, if we can lift this championship this year, there's nothing sweeter than knowing we had to go through both unbelievably quality Mexican oppositions, and everything right now looks to be like that last final championship game where the trophy is going to get raised is going to be down in Monterrey, Mexico, by the looks of it. And I don't see that changing. And so right now it's about like gearing your brain to win in Mexico and make sure that we understand what it takes, making sure we've got the bodies to get down there, making sure we don't have travel issues or visa issues. And, and so we're going to take every league game the same way we do. We go out to win every single game, and we are not overlooking whomever we get in the first round or second round of playoffs. And so, but you can project out deep and go, anybody who really wants to win this championship is absolutely going to have to catch a win in Mexico. And as we know, that's not easy to do. But it's possible, right? Baltimore did it back in the day, and we've done it once or twice, in some playoff games. And so, there are teams that can get down there and squeak out that W, and it's just going to take your best effort.
And every time I see the opening package for us where Kraig Chiles says, we're going to bring one more, I always respond, even though nobody's listening, of, okay, let's do it. Let's make sure to do that. And it seems like Mexico, as you're mentioning, is the way to that Ron Newman Cup. But you kind of touched on it here, the constant challenge of playing shorthanded in Mexico. That is a huge factor that honestly the teams and just in general have their arms tied. That's a very particular situation. How do you, as a player, kind of motivate the teammates that you have to move past that, to just push forward and not let that be an excuse for any sort of result that might not happen.
Yeah, if there are certain players that are unavailable to play in Mexico, it's all about who's next and who's up, and how are you going to fit in, and what are you going to bring to the table? For example, Tortin Perez, we've been sitting here watching him at training every single week, like waiting for his opportunity, and this is going to be his game where he can get out there and flourish, and so we know there are players that are hungry and ready to perform in Mexico. Most of our team is obviously Hispanic and Mexican descent. And we were built, 5, 6 years ago to win in Mexico. And I don't think a lot has changed. And so whomever can make it down there, we're ready to compete and win. And I think last year the club made an improvement in terms of submitting some paperwork to get a couple of the important players like Leo and Charlie and Costa potentially available for those games. And so last year, I think was in playoffs was the first year we were able to get Leo down in Mexico and or down in Chihuahua anyway. And so I think the organization will have all that stuff prepped when it's absolutely necessary. And for this game, we may be a little bit shorthanded. I don't know if everyone's kind of caught wind, but Gabriel Costa had thumb surgery or wrist surgery Friday, 6 hours after our Mesquite game. And so he's on the road to recovery. We should have him back by the end of the season for some regular season games. And, Sean Callahan tore his ACL and he had to have that repaired. And so those were two people that would have probably been on that road trip, but it's just two more people that are going to have to step up and fill those spots and bring it.
Well, Kraig, you bring it every time you come on Soccer's Overtime, my friend. You bring the knowledge, you bring the detail, you bring the intensity. We appreciate you. Safe travels down there across the border to TJ and then hopping on a Volaris flight into the state of Chihuahua, the capital seat, Chihuahua. We will be watching. The fans will be watching from Califino for a watch party on Friday. Tony and I will be doing English language broadcast. So I hope I get to do a few mustache powers over the course of the night.
Yeah, Senor Mustachio is back. Yeah, no, honestly, that atmosphere down there is fantastic. And they heckle us a lot, but at the same time, you can tell there's nothing but respect for the players. And so I'm looking forward to it. And it's a great city, honestly. I don't know what people know, but the hotel accommodations is 10 out of 10. The little city that we're in, the downtown district is beautiful. And the atmosphere is great. And so we're all excited to play. None of us are nervous or anxious about the game. We're ready to get down there and get to business.
All right, go get him, KC. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow morning at La Mesa Indoor.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Kraig Chiles, El Cape de Capitanes, as you like to say, Tony. He is the captain of the captains. He's the leader of this team. I really appreciate the confidence that Kraig Chiles has. And I tell you what, it filters through the club. This was the first road trip that the Sockers had this year that they had their captain with them, because all the other times it was little one-ups to Tacoma, right? Just over and over, one-ups to Tacoma. So it's great to see that this club is locked in mid-season form, I should say. I just said mid-season, and then I looked down and it says spell check, and I said spelling. This happens sometimes. You see things in your eyes and it goes into your mouth.
No, absolutely. It's really interesting to be able to see the tangibility of the intangible with Kraig Chiles. It's something that you can't explain. You saw it last season. They lost against Empire, and right after, Kraig came on this very show and pretty much spoke not just to the fans, not just to you and El Buen Jeremias, but to the team in general. Just like, no, this is unacceptable. We have to go ahead and turn this around. And that's exactly what they did at that point. And this is really just another example of his leadership with, you know what? Sometimes the team really does need that team bonding. It looks like they have poster board material for like, this is what happens when you don't have that potentially in Kansas City, as he pointed out. But at the end of the day, this is really impressive that at his age, in his capacity, he's still getting it done. Yeah. That goal, that double hop goal, I really wish people would understand how difficult it is to get off from the earth and with gravity pulling 3, 2, 5, 6 times more than your body weight to get that header in exactly where you want it to be. And it's just really good to have him be locked in, intense. We mentioned it at the beginning of the season. He looks like a different beast, and I'm glad that he's now making these travels, as we kind of pointed out. Like, hey man, like you got to be at these Tacoma games. You got to make these away games. Now he's doing it, and I think that glue is really coming together. The catalyst of the mustache.
Yes. As soon as I saw it before the St. Louis game, just the hint of black on the upper lip, I'm like, okay, here we go. It's Kraig Chiles time. It's time. When Chiles starts to grow it out, then all of a sudden, what do you know? 2 goals, 4-point game, hat trick. Here we go. No, it's absolutely true. And I also appreciate, as Chip says, it's funny we hear turn it around after one loss, but that's soccer's for you. I mean, this club plays almost a college football type season in terms of you're fighting for the top of the table. It usually means you can't lose more than 1 or 2 games. So every single time that you lose, it becomes a bigger issue. And then it's like, well, oh, hang on, team lost. Now we're getting up, everyone smells blood in the water. Everyone gets excited. Someone usually gets suspended after we lose a game. They seem to go hand in hand. Then it's like, okay, the Sockers are unraveling. The Sockers are this. The Sockers are that. The Sockers hold themselves to a high standard is what it is. It's Ron Newman Cup or bust. And that's why we talk about last year as a disappointing season for the Sockers, winning 22 games, winning the MASL Shield, dispatching Texas in the playoffs, but losing to Chihuahua, and that's the last time San Diego lost down there. It's the only time that they have lost in Chihuahua is game 1 of the Ron Newman Cup semifinals last year. They've won every other time that they've gone down to Corner Sport Arena. So not saying they're gonna, because this Chihuahua team is playing at a level I've never seen before in terms of defensive intensity and the ability to suppress goals. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a battle, and it's going to come down to just game flow, game mechanics. As Kraig said, whose power play clicks, whose set piece works, what happens along the way. Those types of things are going to dictate who gets the result on Friday. But it's not going to come from intimidation for San Diego, and it appears like it may not come from deep roster taxation as well. We know Costa won't be there, but from what I'm hearing, sounds like almost everyone else at least has a chance to be there.
I'm also really excited. What Kraig said is the players that are available. Tortin, we've mentioned his name on the broadcast a couple of times. We've seen the flashes of what he's able to do. The fact that the players are excited for him to get this opportunity. I mean, go back to Monterrey last year. You had a name that nobody really knew, Irvin Mojica, and his breakout games and his breakout games over in Mexico, and how that led for his career growth. Now being a part of this Monterrey Flash team, an important part of the Monterrey Flash team that's absolutely destroying the East. But I'm really excited to see who indeed steps up. We've been talking about X. We've been talking about these opportunities that are going to be inlaid here, and there's no bigger test. Away, intense atmosphere, Corner Sport Arena, some shenanigans that happen, and it's some gamesmanship. It's really a pressure cooker situation, and I think this is going to be the closest situation to playoff games that we're going to see before the actual playoffs for the Sockers.
Yeah, I mean, the point I was kind of making before we got to Kraig is that you don't really have to worry about the standings the rest of the year anymore. I mean, I think Kraig already is saying it himself that, like, they're not really worried about catching Monterrey and winning the Shield this year. Now, listen, if Monterrey steps off a curb wrong, so to speak, and they drop a game and they put the Shield back in play, certainly San Diego will be playing for that because we play to win every match that we take the floor for. But they have 9 matches left, Monterrey. They have gone 15-0, and they have taken out several of the signpost games that we looked at, Tony, because I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago that we did the MASL news segment. Will Monterrey lose a game? And we kind of circled 4 or 5 potential spots. Well, they've gone by a couple of those. Milwaukee came down. They pasted Milwaukee. They went back to Milwaukee. They won in overtime. They just took a West Coast road trip as we are transitioning here to MASL news. They just took a West Coast road trip. They went to Tacoma and won. They went to Empire and won. Now, they weren't dominant on the road in those games, 5-3, 8-4, but it was honestly 5-3 with a shootout at the toe of Stinson to get to 5-4 halfway through the fourth quarter in the Empire Flash game. So not dominant, convincing signature performances, but you know what? They keep on winning. They keep on winning. They keep on winning north of the border too.
Yeah, no denying that that's literally the juggernaut of a team that they have, and I don't see a weakness in any of their play so far. Yeah, they may slow down because guess what? Every team needs a breather, and if their breather is an 8-4 result in a different country, then I think that you cut your losses. And you know what? There are no losses to cut if you're Monterey now. So it's been a very interesting season. I've really, really, really enjoyed this season overall with MASL, with the Soccers. Yeah, it's not winning fatigue, but I'd rather not have to really have that debate in my mind. But again, it's the dynamics have been really, really interesting, especially with Monterey and other teams that are rather surprising, and some that aren't. Even the ones that aren't are interesting to a degree.
Well, that brings us to Empire, right? They had a big collaboration with the city of Ontario. They offered a lot of free tickets to Ontario civic employees for their match against the Flash, and they announced a crowd of almost 4,000. And watching the match, there were fans in the stands. It wasn't just a completely empty announcement. There were definitely fans in the stands for this one. It was an exciting match. It was reasonably well competed between the two. Monterey gets late goals against the sixth attacker to beat Empire 8-4 and to kind of clean out. Not that they were ever in danger of losing this game. They were ahead. As you can see, they were up 2-0 in the first. They were up 5-2 after the second. So there was never really a point where they were in danger in the match. There was a chance for Empire to really close the gap. Again, they had a Stinson shootout down by 2. Stinson missed the shootout, shot it right into Berna's chest, the shootout, and then Monterey killed the power play, and then that was basically it for the game from Empire's point of view. But Marco Fabian scored 2 more. Marco Fabian has scored at least 1 goal in every match for Empire Strikers this season. Now, they are, I believe, 2-8 with him and 1-2 without him. So he hasn't had any impact on the team winning. They have not been winning, but 2.5 points per game, 15 goals in 10 games, and continues to seemingly draw attention. He was on a national ESPN podcast a week or so ago, being feted at an LA Kings game. They've done well, I think, trading off of the status of Marco Fabian. And to his credit, Fabian has done well to put goals in and keep smiling.
Yeah, and this is something that we always question as far as that transition from the outdoor game to the indoor game, how it's going to, play out. But Fabian has done well and been a good ambassador for the team as well to get eyeballs there. I know some Mexican media is also picking it up. Our buen amigo, Señor Sanchez, that we had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, actually threw his name out there for newcomer of the year. And that's something that can definitely be in that conversation, because he's not just a newcomer on this league, on this team. He's a newcomer to the sport in general. Yeah, again, he's a professional outdoor player, but it doesn't always translate as well as it does. So again, very much, as you can see, I know I saw a comment here by Callan. What's Brunson been up to since he went into Empire? Well, there's a difference.
Nothing.
Right? Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Miguel Ponce has been completely invisible on the floor when he has played, and he hasn't played that much. And the reason he hasn't played that much is because he's not providing any impact for Empire on the floor. I think you make a great point, Tony. It's not a guaranteed transition. It's not even close to a guaranteed transition. But Fabian has a hard shot that he can locate well, and he can shoot from distance. And that is something that is an absolute skill. And I think if you've seen a lot of Fabian's goals, it's been him kind of hanging toward the top of the crease. A lot of times it's been sixth attacker or power play type situations, but getting just that little bit of a crease to get a shot in, and then he'll put it right inside the post. Like he's got a strong, accurate shot, and that's what you need to score and succeed in indoor soccer.
Yeah, and then just kind of addressing this toy runner comment here, wonder what Fabian's past experience with Fútbol Rápido is. I actually talked with Fabian in his first matchup here down in San Diego, and he was saying that, look, he grew up playing Fútbol Rápido until he was 15, and that age is the cutoff for when you really have to either choose the pathway of outdoor, indoor. He chose the outdoor way, went professional with that with Chivas, and went in through that academy. So that experience is there. So it's not an out of nowhere transition. There was some experience there, and clearly he's been able to translate what he learned on the outside game into here, and he's trying chilenitas, he's trying overhead kicks, he's coming into his zone. So entertainment value wise, I'm happy. I am sports entertained with Marco Fabian in the league, and Empire losing those efforts sometimes, that's fine too. That's fine too.
Boy, I haven't been rooting for him as hard as I was the other night with Monterrey in town. I'm like, oh, when you think I'm an Empire hater? No, man, I had on my Strikers gear. I was like ordering stuff online. I was creating a crown for myself. I was considering secession ideas, and anything it takes to be an Inland Empire fan. I was all the way in. I was like, maybe we do need to have a brand new state in the Union that only counts for the Inland Empire of California. Maybe that is a good idea. I mean, I was 100% bought into that match. So lots of fun. Monterrey is 15-0. Empire is 3-10. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're building something. Mijatovic is doing stuff. The kid keeper Orozco has been pretty good the last couple of games. Stepping in for Brandon Gomez. So things getting a little better for Empire. Good for them. Striking Fury can break it all down for you with the Doc and Philly and the Panda. The Comets, holy cow. Now we're tripping into Blue Testament territory here, but an OT loss, then 5 straight losses, then another OT loss. That's 7 losses in a row for the Comets. It says the streak is 1, but that's because the league's computer is whack and counts OT losses and losses as somehow different things. Trust me when I tell you the Comets believe they have lost 7 in a row because 7 straight times they've taken the field hoping to win, and 7 straight times the opponent has scored more goals than the Kansas City Comets. They were 7-1. They're 7-8. I can't believe it, man. Like, this was a team that my boss said to me about a month and a half ago. He said, Kansas City is the class of the league on and off the field. And I said, I really can't disagree. They're undefeated. They're drawing great crowds. They've activated their community. They're doing it all. And look at this laid out, a nightmare. It started with that January 12th come from ahead home collapse, and then a 6-match road trip. First off, MASL gonna MASL. Why not play half your road schedule all in one trip? That seems like a fair distribution of home and away. Let's just do all the away. You just do away. But it's one thing to do what they did. Go down to Mexico, get their clock cleaned by Monterrey, come back, come the closest anyone has come all year to beating the Flash, especially at Arena Borregos. Go to Chihuahua, 2 goals. I mean, that's the thing. The Giannone Savage, it's not just that they're winning, it's that they allow 1 or 2 goals in the game. So just complete deflation. And then, how about these last 3 results? They go to Utica, they lose by 4. They go to the Baby Arena at Towson against the blast of all teams, the super mediocre B last. And they lose 7-5. And I watched that match. They weren't in it. They were down 5-1. They were down 5-1 early second quarter. And it was kind of like we're coming back. It was like one of those comebacks. We're like, we're down by 3 now. Like nothing going for them. And then they cap it off by coming from ahead to lose to the lousy Ambush. I'm sorry. The Ambush aren't a good team. We've seen them in person. I am stunned. And not to say that they can't turn it around, but 8-loss teams don't win the championship. Like, already I'm dismissing Kansas City now, thanks to this run of results. And I'm sure they'll turn it back the other direction. I'm sure they'll win some on the blue turf, and our buddies will get excited on the call, and everyone will start to get things worked out. But you lose 7 in a row in this league, you're not going to win a championship. There's just no way.
No, it's honestly almost impressive what's going on with the Comets. And I think if we were to redo our Soccer's Overtime tier list, I think the majority of the switch, I think we could just kind of take care of it now for in verbatim. It's just Comets down, and that's it. Like that, I don't see any other movement, but it's incredible what's going on. It has to be demoralizing. Just looking at that goal differential in these last 7 matches is something to. It's a stark just comparison in where they were, because they were doing fantastic. They started really well, playing some great indoor soccer, scoring worldies, really putting it together well on that blue turf. But at some point, it just kind of all collapsed. And I now think of that little insight that Capitan Kraig Chiles gave us, as far as like, well, the team building this, and I wonder what they see just being inside of the league, being inside the walls, what they're experiencing, what they're hearing from other places, and if that really is the crux of this downfall for the Comets. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
The only thing I can really point to, because like Susan is asking, well, what is it? Like what's happened to this team? I mean, first and foremost is that they've been giving up a lot of goals. They haven't been there. It's not like they've been sitting there playing rock solid. They've in those 7 losses, the second Monterrey match, the first Utica match, and the first half of the St. Louis game, Kansas City played pretty well. But clearly they don't have the ability to stop the bleeding right now. And the only thing I can kind of point to, and I'm just, hand up, I don't have inside knowledge. I haven't tried to poke around and get under the hood of the Kansas City Comets, because quite frankly, I don't have to. One team's going to emerge from the East eventually. We'll worry about them if the Sockers can take care of their part. But Nicolau Neto was off to a tremendous start to the season in net. And, as a Brazilian national, I think he couldn't travel south of the border. I just know that their second keeper, Filipe Edgemadu, started all of those games and now has started 4 games for Kansas City out of 15. He didn't play particularly well in those games. And Neto's, I think he's been okay. I don't know. I don't have a straight answer for Kansas City. They've just, the switch turned off, and all of a sudden they're losing. Listen, it's also about competition, right? You play Monterrey, Chihuahua, Utica. You lose all of those games. It just tells me, like we saw, maybe it's time to take a look at the tier list and make a little change-a-roo.
I like that. Let's see what happens here in Chihuahua too, because man, if the Sockers take it from Chihuahua, that might bump from A+ to A-, A, B+ perhaps, but that's going to be something to look forward to. And look, at the end of the day, this is another testament to what people call you and I out on the chat on Twitch, or whenever we cite travel, is no. Like, the Sockers are traveling, it's grueling, but they're still winning. And again, it's a testament to the Sockers, and it's a testament to the great work that goes behind the scenes. But not all teams are built the same, Craig. And I think this is one of those situations where you can kind of look and compare and contrast these travel schedules and say, look, this is what you can have potentially, and that's not what the Sockers are right now.
That's a great point, Tony. That's a great point. Let's wrap things up with Sockers news. There will be an announcement by the club tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Something I actually got to take care of tonight. It's a good reminder to myself. I got to take care of a little right through tonight. But the club will be announcing a player signing tomorrow of a free agent. This isn't a trade. They will be announcing a player signing because it's not official yet. I won't make any announcement, but it's a different flavor of player than the Sockers have had before, or a different flavor of player than they've had before. Flav? Flaver.
Not dropping bombs like Kraig did in his interview.
Right? I keep making mistakes like that, like letting things out. I got a call earlier this week. I love Paul Savage, our athletic trainer. Apparently, I was like in some sort of HIPAA violation with the notes because boy. I'm just trying to be, providing the information to the fans. Like, if this league ever actually got in bed with gambling, where like you could gamble on these games in Las Vegas, this league wouldn't last 2 weeks. It would be done in 2 weeks. It would topple upon itself in 2 weeks.
You got immigration on one side, you got a HIP on the other, just these government agencies.
I'm telling you. Just trying to get the info to the fans so they can make informed bets, No. Anyways, yeah. So there will be an announcement Wednesday morning. I don't know 100% if this player will play in Mexico, but he could. And remember, Gabriel Costa is out until close to the end of the regular season. Now, with that surgery, which I now can talk about because it has happened. Listen, Oh, dang it. Eddie Bear figured it out.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, boy! We're going to come out with just giant clocks hanging off of his neck. Flava Flav.
One of the most groundbreaking reality TV shows of our generation.
Oh my golly. So that is happening tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. It'll be announced at 10 a.m. JG's going to have to press the button because I'll be on the air with Annie and Elston Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. There's never been more soccer's talked on the air than when they gave me a radio show. Like, I actually give the results and tell everybody what's what.
I love that. So, and I've seen people show up in the comments and both on Twitch and in person. Just you're getting people out there. I think some commission money has to be coming your way, Kraig, because numbers are moving.
I'm trying to keep soccer alive in America's finest city. Sal Zizzo coming on the show Thursday, not for nothing. Fans of soccer, fans of the great game.
What show?
Former Annie and Elston.
Oh, okay.
By the way, starting tomorrow, now featuring Annie.
I love that.
She's been missing for like a month, pretty much. So Annie and Elston now featuring new Annie flavor starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Sal Zizzo will be on Thursday's show if you want to hear some soccer talk on Annie and Elston. Okay, so new player signing tomorrow, 10 a.m. Friday, 6 o'clock, the Sockers and the Chihuahua Savage. There will be a watch party at the Calafino Sublimit Lounge up in Carlsbad / San Marcos border. It's like if you drive a block, you're in San Marcos. Otherwise, you're in Carlsbad. But there's the address, 3238 Greyhawk Court. Type that in your Google map and get to it. Doors open 5:30. Doors will probably be open just a little bit before that. But, if you want to show up 5-ish, you're going to be fine. But 5:30 officially, the start. There'll be food on hand available for purchase. Beverages, are taken care of. So that's good news for yous. Hoping we'll have some brujos up there. Obviously, it's a Friday. It's a difficult situation for folks. Who knows what the weather's going to continue to be? Is it going to rain all week? I don't even know.
There was a tornado where I live.
There was a tornado warning. There was and I saw a picture on X that looked like half a tornado, like the top half, but it didn't meet the bottom half, which is great news for the city of San Diego. It was excellent news. I did not like being on the radio earlier today, being handed tornado warning, being explained that warning means like it's coming, and watch is like, it might happen. and then to see the city of La Mesa in the same, like, well, a tornado in La Mesa. I do not live in Kansas. This doesn't make any sense at all. But yeah, could it have been a water spout? If it's over the ocean, it's a water spout, not a tornado. If it touches down actually on the earth, it becomes a tornado. Kay Vibbard says it touched down in the Chula Vista El Cajon area. Listen, I haven't watched the local news tonight, so I don't know if there was actually ever a touchdown. I didn't see any major reports of significant damage, which if a tornado actually came rolling through the county, there would have been damage on damage on damage. So hopefully things wound up being somewhat okay. Ahmed asks, can we bring treats to share to the watch party? What kind of treats, Ahmed? What kind of treats?
Let's just turn it into a potluck.
I mean, legal treats? Yes. Yes, you can. You can bring legal treats. Don't bring illegal treats. That wouldn't be right. Don't do that.
No Kinder sorpresas. Kinder Buenos are good.
Galletas con las marihuanas. No. Don't do any of that. So watch party on Friday. Calafino Sublimit Lounge should be a lot of fun. Now, Tony and I are going to be doing an English language broadcast of the match. We've been doing this for the last 3 years, right? We've been doing English language broadcasts, whether the club is in Monterrey or whether they're in Chihuahua. We're going to do that again. We're working on the production side of that. I sent an email to the league today, Tony, asking, can we get that clean feed like we did for the finals last April, which was really nice. I think we enjoyed that. The second question that you and I have to answer once the show is over, we can have a little chitter chat after the show is over, is our personal logistics. Because last year we did it where you are right now. We did it in your 2 balls and a mic San Diego Punto Football studio. We certainly couldn't do the English language broadcast down on the floor of Calafino Lounge because there would be the syncing issue. There would be the issue of us watching the game on a tiny monitor and being 4 seconds ahead of what's on the big screen. And then we yell goal or we go, oh, goal. And then everyone knows what happened. And that would be a mess. So you and I can chat about that, whether we're going to try and sequester ourselves upstairs or whether we just do it from your studio. I've gotten permission to go either direction on that. Of course, obviously, I would love to be up in Oceanside or in Carlsbad with all of our mates and at least see everybody before the game and see everybody at halftime and whatnot. But, we got a job to do. And to answer the question of Kay Vibbard,